how to learn to live with it. It reminds me of him, you know, the perfect picture to frame the moment, just like he always wanted. Autumn always is the best for walks. The colours, the breeze, and constant changing of the scenery. It's amazing. I was on one of these walks a few days ago. It was the evening and the sun was casting a lovely orange glow over my local forest. It's on these kinds of walks that I seem to get lost in my own thoughts a little, where I'm going with my life and such. Though, on this particular day, I decided to take a detour from my normal path and head towards a clearing set a few tens of meters from the path itself. I made my way over, clambering over a few loose branches and a few small piles of leaves where an effort had been made to sweep them together. Eventually, I got to the clearing to soak in the view. It was idyllic, just beautiful. The view opened to a few small hills that families often gathered on to eat picnics and such. There was a small amount of city that could be seen in the distance, but it didn't disrupt the view. The far-off reminder of civilization sent a nice message that there were spots still unconquered by man. That same orange glow lay like a blanket of sunlight on the hill's gentle grass slopes, inviting and begging to be lay upon in this golden hour. I climbed the side of the hill, but when I reached the top, I was pleasantly surprised to find another man resting at the top, staring off into the distance and smiling as he did so. "Hello," I said, hoping not to alarm the gentleman. "Hello yourself," he proclaimed, turning to face me from his seated position. He was a middle-aged gentleman, no more than 50, though he seemed to have more wrinkles than perhaps his face should have. He had a full head of brown hair that seemed just a little too frayed. Clothes that fit him but not too well. Blue eyes that stared just a little too far into the distance. Friendly, but certainly wary. He seemed like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. "It's a beautiful sight, isn't it?" I asked him, hoping to draw out a conversation. "Yeah," is what he never got to see, he replied, half murmuring the second part of his sentence. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," I said, wanting to know more, but not wanting to make things awkward. "My kid, Logan, died in a car accident about 22 years ago." "I'm really sorry to hear that. If it's okay with you, I'd like to know more about him," I said, carefully sitting down beside him. "About Logan? Well, he was 17 when he died, ready to take on the world and all that. He was a film kid, somehow. Wasn't really my area, but I encouraged him with everything I had. He'd actually managed to get into a few low-budget gigs at the time, bless him. It's such a shame. He went to a film shoot on that day and was in that taxi. It makes me think, what if he had never liked films, had a different dream, or if there was anything I could have done? I don't know. Still brings me back here every year." "Why does it bring you back?" "Because of what Logan wanted. I feel like it's my duty to carry on his ideas of life being this big TV show, that all things should be movie-esque for the drama. I only do it for him, but I think somewhere I know he appreciates it. He always spoke about the perfect golden hour with the most amazing background imaginable. How nothing looks more amazing on camera than the golden glow of people's faces. So it's why I come here. Every year. To the most beautiful view I know and wait for it. Wait for that golden hour and I don't know. Feel something again. The man's face had grown even more tired through telling the story. His eyes looked glassy, tired but as if they had cried every tear that they ever would. His mouth was lightly quivering as if he was feeling the true reverberations of saying his son's name out loud for the first time in years. It reminds me of him, you know? The perfect picture to frame the moment, just like he always wanted. The image you have right now in front of you, it's pretty perfect. It is, isn't it? It's just how he described it. To the letter. We both let the conversation taper off on that note. It was a nice conclusion to what could have been a very awkward encounter. I'm glad it occurred. In that moment, I got up from my seat. I acknowledged the man one more time before making my way back towards the way I had come. In my head, I was thinking about so many things at once. Logan and his short life, the man's clear grief after all those years, and how he'd finally seen what his son always wanted to. It was a modern tragedy, and I'd been the first audience member. It still feels like knowledge that I shouldn't know. A side story so obscure it wasn't meant to be recorded. Born to be lost in the ribbons and knots of the past. I continued my walk, thinking about all of these things. Fast forward to the next day, and I decided to go back to the same hill, hoping that, by some chance, I would meet the same man again. Maybe I could learn a little bit more about the kid's life. The weather wasn't exactly the same, but it was a calm and pretty evening, with the gentle warmth from the sun lightening the whole atmosphere. I walked up the same hills hoping to see him, but as I expected, he wasn't there. And I'm almost sort of glad that I didn't, actually. It's more movie-esque. The man sees what his son never did and his soul is healed sort of deal. I don't know. Living out his son's dream, maybe. Seeing the man again would break the finality of that storyline. He accomplished the task and moves on. Logan will be proud. I suppose I've taken something away from it all, though. Maybe a more morbid note, but grief is a lifelong affliction. No matter how much time passes, it will always be the same reality. I guess that's our lesson then. To never learn how to beat grief, but how to learn to live with it, and shape it from grief into polished and cherished memories. Memories to hold on to, and never, ever forget.